Well, my name is Demario Gerald, and I'll be giving a PowerPoint slide on the U.S. House and Education and Labor Committee. First, we'll start with the majority members for the Democratic Party. The most important on this slide is Chairman Robert C. Bobby Scott from the state of Virginia, who refers to himself as Bobby Scott. Another person that is important on this slide is Vice Chair Jamal Bowman from New York. And if you look on the slide, you can probably find a representative from your state as well. I'm looking and I do not see anybody from South Carolina, but South Carolina is a Republican state, so I'm guessing that I'll probably see them on the minority slide. On this slide, the most important thing to remember is the ranking member Virginia Foxx out of North Carolina, and as I said, Joe Wilson out of South Carolina. So again, you probably find someone from your state on this slide as well, especially if you're like me and your home state is a Republican. Committee principles. Some things that the committee focuses on is education and opportunity for every student. They focus on putting workers first, um, affordable health care for all, and holding government accountable. That involves primarily conducting oversight of the executive branch and ensuring that the administration is acting within the best interests for all Americans, not just a few individuals. So the educational jurisdiction issues that the committee addresses are education opportunities at all levels, school lunch and nutritional programs, programs and services for care and treatment of at-risk youth, and anti-poverty programs. There's other issues that the educational committee addresses, but these are just a few of them. And as you see, we have two subcommittees. First one being the Early Childhood, Elementary, and Secondary Education Subcommittee, and they address early care and education programs. Some legislation we see that came out of this subcommittee are the Head Start Act, the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act, and we'll also see them focusing on special education, homeless, and migrant education. The Subcommittee on Higher Education and Workforce Investment focuses primarily on post-secondary student assistance and employment, and from this subcommittee we can see campus safety and climate, uh, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, programs related to arts and humanities, and apprenticeship programs. Labor jurisdiction issues that the committee addresses are all matters dealing with relationships between employer and employee, so that can pertain to pension or retirement security, job training, adult education, workforce development initiatives, retirement security, equal opportunity, wages and hours of labor, and expanding sick, family, and medical leave. Subcommittees that we'll see out of or pertaining to the labor or workforce are the Subcommittee on Workforce Protections, Subcommittee on Health, Employment, Labor, and Pensions, and the Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Human Services. Recent legislation that I wanted to focus on in this PowerPoint or in this presentation is the Mental Health Matters Act. It is a bill that is intended to increase access to mental and behavioral health care and it creates various grants to increase the number of school-based mental health service providers. It also establishes requirements for institutions of higher education concerning students with disabilities, and it prohibits arbitration and discretionary clauses in employer-sponsored benefit plans under the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. I thought this was important because um, with everything that we've seen throughout the past few years, this is probably the most important thing we need in our education or school systems right now. So top contributions or top contributors to the 117th Congress. So I chose the top 10 contributors. If we look, we see American Israel Public Affairs Committee, Democracy Engine, Home Depot, American Federation of Teachers, National Association of Realtors, Majority Committee of PAC, National Beer Wholesales Association, American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and House Freedom Fund. If you look, you can see the amount that these groups, organizations, businesses have contributed to the committee itself. Top contributors by industry. Um, Again, I chose the top 10. Looking on the slide, we can see the insurance being number 10 on the slide, pro-Israel being number 8, which was, I believe it was top 3 on the last slide. And again, you can see the amount that was contributed and the percentage contributed to both Democrats and Republicans. One thing that I wanted to point out on this slide, though, is the fact that Republicans seem to get more from these top 10 industries, although they are the minority. I think that's one thing to note on this slide. They are the minority party. They receive primarily more uh, contributions from these top 10 industries. Another thing that I also wanted to point out on the last slide was the fact that it's not top 10, but the Republican Party contributes more money to education than the Democratic Party. But again, the Republican Party is the minority party. I think that says something as well. Mickey Sherrill was a Democrat out of the state of New Jersey. Looking at our top contributors, we can see that they are the financial, insurance, and real estate, and so many other contributors. But looking at her contributors, um, most of them align well with her goals, and the fact that she's a part of the Armed Service Committee, Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and the Education and Workforce Committee. Most of the top contributors, most of her top 5 contributors, align with the committees that she's a part of, and I think that's something that is worth noting as well. And the fact that she's raised over $7 million since she's been in, and most of the money that she's raised comes from people that are or people that share the same goals that she does. Burgess Owens, a Republican out of the state of Utah. His top five contributors are primarily businessmen or businesses and organizations. He's a part of the Judiciary Committee and the Education Committee. But one thing that I found that was important or worth noting was the fact that most of the bills that he supported or sponsored and co-sponsored are directed towards businesses rather than um, education. And another thing that was important is the fact that over half of his contributions come from outside of his district, and 80% comes from outside of his state. So I think that says something about the. I think it says something about how he supports bills or the bills that he does support, because most of his funding doesn't come from people that share the same ideology as him. But overall, support from these interest groups and organizations, they affect voter turnout because these organizations and these interest groups, they have influence over these voters. And if these interest groups and the PACs and organizations support a specific member of Congress, then the people, the American people, can look to these different organizations to find suggestions on who to vote for. We have